Meanwhile, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was cut yesterday by the Houston Texans. What a trade that was. Kenyon Green for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And both have been asked by their new teams to pack their stuff and go. Gardner-Johnson played a lot. And look, I remember it was not long before the start of training camp. Gardner-Johnson said somewhere that the Eagles traded him because he's too competitive. And because maybe he doesn't know the line between being competitive and being a jerk to your teammates. And I think that had something to do with it. And they're already starting to get the word out on Gardner-Johnson not getting along with his teammates. And there's also multiple reporters who all of a sudden have become experts in film study who are breaking down the nuances of how and why C.J. Gardner-Johnson was not running the defense the right way, which just tells you someone's telling them, look at this play, look at this play, look at this play. Here's why he's not here anymore. He wasn't properly executing his role in our defense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was something there. We know this is a volatile personality. He's intense. He wants intensity on the defensive side of the ball. He's not a guy that's going to hold his opinions to himself, right? He does bring an attitude to a defense, though, that I've always liked. But obviously something there wasn't working. Something there wasn't. But he can still play ball. That to me, somebody's going to sign him up. And this is, they released him, right? And that's, I think, the most shocking thing, because you would think they could get some sort of trade value, but I feel like I've heard conflicting things out there, right? And I don't know where this stands as far as, did he basically say, like, don't trade me because I might not accept a trade, or did they just release him because they're like, we're done with you, we don't care? But I would expect him to be picked up by a team. There's a few teams out there that could use some safety help, and I would think he could do that for them.
And, every coach thinks he's going to be the one to finally get through to the guy who's been a problem elsewhere. He's played well, but think of it this way. He's part of the Super Bowl champions, and they said, no, thank you.
Yeah,
we're done.
Right.
And I don't think it was because of his playing ability. It's because there's a line that you can't cross in order to be a good teammate. And I don't know how, we aren't in the locker room, but it's a delicate balance. And you can't have a personality that's going to potentially be disruptive. So something caused the Texans to say, see you later, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And we'll see if and when he lands elsewhere. Because he's got more than 4 years of service, he instantly becomes a free agent. He doesn't pass through waivers. Boom, anybody can sign him the moment that the Texans cut him loose.
Have you heard anything as far as that? Like them trying to trade him or anything there as far as, like, just to release him, to me still is shocking. It is. I just, I would not have expected that. And it feels like, yeah.
Well, you know what they could have done?
What?
They could have done the game that we see all the time. You leak it at 8 a.m.
Right.
That we're planning to release him, and then you wait for someone to call and offer you a 7th-round pick. So they could have done that. They may have just gotten to the point where it's like, we got to get this guy the hell out of here.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe they knew he was going to cause a problem.
We got to send a message to the locker room. Right. Because they got issues in Houston. Houston feels like the Eagles 2 years ago when it was all falling apart and we didn't know why and it was all very vague. I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on behind the curtain in Houston. And we got a glimpse of it yesterday because they told C.J. Gardner-Johnson to get on the other side of the curtain.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be interested to see what happens here and where he goes, because I think there's going to be a team, and for him it's the best case scenario here, because now he can kind of go, wait, who's the most competitive? Who's the team that I think is going to be in the mix of things as far as the Super Bowl playoff conversation, and get to pick from there. And like I said, I mean, teams like there's a few teams in the hunt right now where you look at and go, yeah, they could use some safety help for sure. You look at Buffalo, the 49ers. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there as you go through it and go, I could see them wanting a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, right? We know there was an injury in Pittsburgh at the safety position. They signed Jabril Peppers, but they want a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? I don't know, right? But I would have a hard time thinking that he sits out there on the street for too long.
I would pay a lot of money to be in the room for some Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Aaron Rodgers interactions. I mean, it would be a big check to charity of their choice. I would happily witness C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Aaron Rodgers debating anything. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.